I didn't plan on hearing my boyfriend cheat on me. He handed me the truth himself. He picked up my call by accident. His pocket must have tapped accept. And for 30 long seconds, I listened to a voice that wasn't mine, laughing in his ear, teasing him about last night, and asking if he'd saved the room under a fake name again. I froze. I remember the exact rhythm of their breath between jokes, the sound of a zipper, the clink of a glass on a bedside table. When he finally realized, the call cut. He called back with the kind of panic that sounds like love if you want it to. Babe, butt dial, TV on, you're imagining things. He said it like a spell that could undo my ears. For 2 days, he gaslit me with precision. Details, deflections, a joke about me binging true crime and turning into a detective. I let him talk. I thanked him for reassurance. I nodded on cue. Then I wrote everything down. Timestamps, phrases, the color of the lie each time he repainted the same wall. On day 3, I asked if we could reset by exchanging boundaries in writing. He agreed, excited to put it behind us. I texted him a neat summary of what I thought had happened. Wrong hotel, a woman who calls you J, a receipt with initials. Could he reassure me and correct the parts I got wrong? He replied helpfully, fixing the date. It was Tuesday, not Monday. The street, not Oak, Park. And, God bless him, the exact bar they'd gone to first. I screenshotted the thread and set 2 alarms. One to cancel our weekend getaway, booked on my points, and one to book a room for myself near my best friend's place. I called the hotel I suspected and asked, in my best tired administrator voice, to email a receipt for J. Walters, late checkout, corporate rate. They sent it within minutes. Then I went softer. I reached out to the other woman. Not to attack her, not to beg. I told her this was a courtesy. If she'd been told I was crazy, she deserved the unvarnished timeline. She responded in one sentence that told me everything. I've asked him if he's single 4 times. We met for coffee on neutral ground. She brought a friend. I brought a printed copy of the texts with the names blacked out. We compared notes and did the only illegal thing neither of us intended. We laughed. Laughed at the identical compliments he'd copied and pasted between us. Laughed at the way he recycled a story about a sick coworker as cover. Laughed because the alternative was crying over someone who used affection like a coupon code. That night, I packed. I took my documents, my grandmother's ring, my hard drives, and my sense of humor. I left the furniture and the apparently cursed espresso machine he'd insisted on. On the kitchen island, I placed a folder labeled Since You Like Receipts, containing the call log, the hotel invoice, the messages, and a short letter. There is nothing here to discuss. Please do not contact me except through email to arrange pickup of your things. Changing the story no longer changes the facts. He tried anyway. First came the apologies. I panicked. Then the explanations. It wasn't serious. Then the discount philosophy. Monogamy is complicated. I answered once. This is the email address for logistics only. He sent flowers to my office. I refused delivery. He waited outside my gym. I walked back in and asked the desk to call security. He texted a paragraph from his mother's phone. I forwarded it to my email titled Documentation. Our shared friends received a different version of him, the wounded poet. He told them I was dramatic, unforgiving, not who he thought I was. I sent a group message to his chorus with 3 images: the receipt, the text thread where he corrected my wrong details, and my letter. I added one line. I don't need you to pick sides. I need you to stop repeating a man's PR statements. The chat went silent in the clean way that happens when people realize a mask has a zipper. When I returned to the apartment with movers, he was there, small in the way people become when truth shrinks their costume. You're really ending us over a mistake? I didn't answer. I signed for the boxes and took my favorite plant. My friend named her Justice because she thrives with consistent care. On my way out, I left my keys on the counter and took my life with me. It's been 3 months. The first night alone, I slept diagonally and cried anyway. The second week, I laughed at a sitcom without checking if he found it funny. I started therapy because I didn't want his voice to colonize my head. The other woman sent me one message last week. She's okay. She got tested. She dyed her hair. She, too, is sleeping diagonally. I'm not interested in revenge with pyrotechnics. The boomerang here is simple. He built his world on improvisations, and now he lives in them. Every misunderstanding he tried to feed me spiraled back as a clean, dated fact. Every crowd he auditioned for now knows the script. Truth doesn't scream. It documents. If you've ever been told that your ears lied to you, they didn't. Keep the receipts you wish you didn't have to collect. And if you had to choose between peacekeeping and self-respect, what did you choose? And what did it cost you?
2 months ago, my wife admitted her emotional connection had become physical. The word physical made the floor tilt. We had slept in separate rooms while she figured things out. I kept the house running like a museum of normal life. Lunches packed, laundry folded, our daughter's science project glue drying on the kitchen table. People think the hardest part is the confession. It isn't. The hardest part is how quiet the house becomes while you decide whether to leave or rebuild. I made 3 rules before we even discussed reconciliation. 1, a full written disclosure. Timeline, locations, what devices were used, what apps, how it started, how it was hidden. 2, verifiable no contact. New number, email change, written notice to the man saying this is over, delivered through me, and access for me to confirm. 3, therapy, individual for her, couples for us. I expected pushback. She surprised me with exhaustion. I'm tired of lying, she said. I'll do all of it. We told our daughter only that mom and dad were working on being better grown-ups. Then we started the work of taking a broken window out of the frame without slicing our hands open. Disclosure reads like a police report written by a person who still loves you. It hurts in grammar. The first message was a joke about a project. The second was a "you get me" paragraph. The fifth had a heart. The first kiss was in a parking lot after a later-than-usual meeting. There were 3 hotels. Once, our living room while I took our daughter to a birthday party. I signed the paper that said I'd read the truth. No contact required more than a text. She changed numbers and gave me login access. We wrote the shutdown message together. Brief, final, no apologies that sound like invitations. I pressed send from her new phone while she sat beside me with shoulders squared like a soldier accepting orders. The boomerang effect showed up fast. The same charm she'd found intoxicating returned as insults when boundaries arrived. He called her a coward. He said I was controlling. He sent a photo of a bar receipt like proof of his loneliness. I documented it and forwarded it to my attorney. Not because I intended to sue anyone, but because paper keeps people honest. Therapy put us in a room with a third person who refused to take either side. Our therapist called it truth CPR. She told my wife that remorse without accountability was self-pity. She told me that interrogations masquerading as intimacy were another form of control. We built a plan. Weekly sessions, daily check-ins that were not audits but rituals. Coffee at the table, 2 questions each. What hurt today and what helped today? Some days I believed in the work. On other days I walked past the couch and imagined it on fire. Our daughter asked why Mom sleeps in the guest room, and I told her the truest thing I could. Grown-up hearts are complicated, but we're being kind while we figure it out. At the 6-week mark, I realized rebuilding wasn't about forgiveness as a single dramatic event. It was 1,000 small decisions to stay curious instead of vindictive. My wife signed a voluntary post-nuptial agreement. Clear terms, financial transparency, custody plan drafted by mutual consent. People say it's unromantic. I say it's oxygen. It let me breathe long enough to decide with a clear head. We're still married. We have a calendar reminder that says walk at sunset, and we keep it more often than we break it. She cried last week because the truth is finally heavier than the secrecy, which means she's carrying it instead of asking me to. We sit on the front steps after our daughter goes to bed and talk like the younger versions of ourselves who hadn't yet learned how sharp intimacy can be. I don't romanticize this. We may still fail. But if we do, we'll fail in the daylight. The man who thought he deserved her admiration now gets none of her attention. That's the boomerang. The same pathway that carried his flattery in now carries silence back out. I don't feel like a winner. I feel like a person who chose structure over spectacle. If you've climbed back from betrayal, what was the one boundary that actually held? And if you left, what made leaving finally feel like protecting? My wife told our daughter she was no longer family for dating a woman. Our girl is 19, art major, shakes the house when she laughs, keeps plants alive like a superpower. I expected anger. I did not expect disownment. Laura, my wife, declared it calmly, like a boundary. If you insist on this lifestyle, you are not my daughter. I looked at the fireplace, where last Christmas stockings still hung in the photograph, and I decided which fire to put out first. I told our daughter, "You are absolutely my family." And I told my wife, "You cannot weaponize the word mother." Laura said I was undermining her authority. I said authority without love is just control with better PR. Then I asked our daughter's girlfriend to come over for dinner. I cooked too much. That's what dads do when they don't know what else to fix. Dinner was ordinary on purpose. We passed salad. We argued about whether the dog needed a sweater. I listened to 2 young women map out a future like a blueprint. Jobs, a rental with bad carpet, a trip fund jar. When Laura refused to speak to the girlfriend, I excused us, took my wife to the porch, and gave her my version of a post-nup for parenting. 1, no slurs, no silence punishments, no confiscating family from a child you created. 2, therapy with someone licensed, not a cousin who gets loud on Facebook. 3, if you need time, take it without making our child pay rent for your beliefs. She called me dramatic. I told her drama is threatening to cut off a child for loving someone who treats her well. She doubled down, said she wouldn't enable sin under her roof. So I changed the roof. I moved our daughter's essentials to the spare room in my office suite for the week and told Laura, The locks would be rekeyed unless she agreed to Rule 1, no cruelty. That wasn't abandonment, it was a pause button to keep the house safe. Laura tried to rally extended family. She sent a group message asking everyone to pray that I stop encouraging perversion. I replied with 3 photos: our daughter's honor roll certificate, a text from her professor praising her portfolio, and the dog wearing that sweater. Per the record, I wrote, the only perversion here is twisting love into a threat. Her brother, who never calls, called. He told me privately he wished their mother had defended him like this when he came out at 20. The boomerang was quick. Laura's appeal turned into a mirror she didn't enjoy. I met with a lawyer, not to attack my wife, but to draft a living trust for our daughter's education and a clause for the house. No one gets to evict a child for loving safely. I invited Laura to co-sign. She refused. I signed. Actions are votes. I cast mine. On Sunday, I went to my daughter's campus art show. She'd painted a family at a dinner table where one chair was empty, then added a second piece, same table, same family, all chairs filled, a dog underfoot. She titled it Room. It's been a month. Laura hasn't moved out, but she has moved in a direction I can live with. She agreed to therapy. The first session, she cried and said the word fear for the first time. Fear of judgment from her church friends, fear of losing the daughter who doesn't match the picture in her head. The therapist told her that love is not compliance. That landed. At dinner now, Laura asks about the girlfriend by name. It's cautious, not warm, but it is a step. I told our daughter the truth. I might lose a marriage, but I will not lose her. She hugged me the way kids do when they believe you. Maybe we'll become the second painting. Maybe not. But there will always be a chair with her name on it in my house. If your family drew a hard line around love, did you cross it or erase it and draw a better one?